Welcome, ladies and gents. Chris Andre here. You can find me at BetBoxing on Twitter for boxing-related tweets, or you can subscribe to the channel and get a notification whenever a video comes up. Let's talk boxing. I'm going to bring a couple of videos over the next 2 days, one obviously now and then one more tomorrow. The one tomorrow is going to deal with Lee Selby and George Kambosos Jr. This one's going to deal with Oleksandr Usyk against Derek Chisora. A lot's being made about this fight and you know, the potential clash of styles and things like that, and people are questioning, does Oleksandr Usyk have what it takes to step up to the heavyweight division and really make a statement in his debut in the heavyweight division? He wasn't as explosive as people expected him to be, and I think a lot of people are questioning whether he carries the weight well and so on and so forth. Let's talk about it. Let's get a little bit technical as well at some stage. Firstly, we'll start with Oleksandr Usyk. One of the things he obviously does very well, he moves very well. He's a southpaw. He's very, very good at placing pressure with his feet. So he makes you constantly jerky and on edge. And Tony Bellew has spoken about how that was one of the most tiring things he had to deal with. He would tease you almost by being in range with his feet, out of range with his body, and vice versa. And you're not sure when a shot's coming, and that would create some nervous energy. What Usyk does, one thing you do have to think about though, that not many people are talking about, is the potential psychological impact of the defeat of Vasyl Lomachenko. See, what I've spoken about in the past with Usyk, and it counts for Loma too, both of them are fighters that tend to want to take their time early in fights to analyze an opponent, collect data, as Lomachenko himself puts it, and read the opponent, and then start to come on strong afterwards when he's essentially figured out the pattern, when he's unlocked the key. The problem is that obviously with the Lopez fight, you saw that Lomachenko couldn't quite figure out the password, so to speak, early enough, the reach. And listen, he did some great work, Lopez, to keep him at range with long shots to the body and so on and so forth. It caused him problems. When he was coming off to the side, one thing again many people have spoken about is the ability of Lopez not just to turn with him, but on occasions when he wasn't able to rotate quickly enough, he would push him away with his arm, his elbow. He'd move him away. There was a couple of occasions where that happened, and you saw a discrepancy in physicality, right? But the point is, so we don't digress too much, there's a time that Lomachenko needs to really read an opponent. So does Usyk. They have the same the same trainer, Lomachenko's father. Very similar styles. They are different. There are aspects of their fight game that's different, but you can tell they've had the same sort of schooling, in the same way that, you know, an Ingle fighter might have certain aspects of his game that's similar, or a Gallagher fighter. You know, they've got certain traits. A Manny Stewart fighter, or a Freddie Roach fighter. Now, that's not to say, before anyone jumps down my neck, they can't produce different types of fighters. We're just talking generally speaking. There's a schooling there, and what Usyk tends to do as well is to look at an opponent. Did Usyk not start slowly against Michael Hunter? He was 3-0 down in the rounds there. Did he not start slowly against Tony Bellew? Bellew was probably winning that fight when the stoppage happened. He started relatively slowly against Maris Briedis. I had him 3-all after 6 rounds. So he figures you out and then starts to go to work. One of the obstacles he's going to face in the heavyweight division is that you can't be taking punishment when you're figuring a guy out. Tony Bellew was having quite a lot of success. He was doing it from a style that Chisora is not going to bring. He was getting on the back foot, and he was bringing Usyk in, turning away from him often with his shoulder, showing him the shoulder. And Usyk likes to pivot off to, off to the outside of your. If you're an orthodox fighter, he'll pivot to your left. So he'll come out of your lead hand, to the side of your lead hand, and punch you from there. Bellew would often show him that angle to get him to that point, and then turn with a quick straight right hand down the middle. So he's luring him in and trying to set a trap, and he had some success. But he had to work very, very hard for it, and that pressure told, the stamina told, and he started to get a lot of success with parrying that lead hand down. Once he realized what Bellew was trying to do, he was making Bellew fall short with that attempted counter and so on and so forth. He was adjusting. But the point is, he got caught early, and if in the heavyweight division against these big solid punchers, you can't make that mistake with an Anthony Joshua, with a Deontay Wilder, with a Derek Chisora. They'll clean your clock. So he's got this potential issue where how far can he really afford to go in terms of starting slow? He can't be absorbing punishment. Now, one of the things he does is he has quite a high guard where, you know, his hands are almost by the side of his head, by his temple. He's just covering up and moving. And as he's moving, he'll absorb a shot but move with it. So it's almost like rolling with a punch, but rather than rolling with a rotation from your hips or your shoulders, he's moving with his feet. So he's not absorbing the punch fully. And he's reading you while you're doing this and trying to find your patterns, okay? And he's getting you to swing big shots and tire yourself out and things like that. One of the key things that Derek Chisora is, one of the fights I want you guys to go and see is Artur Szpilka's fight against Derek Chisora. The last half of the first round, and up until the point where Chisora knocks him out. So he knocked him out in round 2. So you're talking about from the halfway point of the first round to the point where he gets knocked out. Szpilka is showing certain signs that Usyk's going to want to use, in my opinion. He had a lot of success. He's also a southpaw. He was making Chisora fall short, and he was countering him. He was countering him with, when Chisora would try and bundle in, he caught him with some nice uppercuts. I think it was in the first round. He blooded his nose. There were a couple of moments when he couldn't miss with a straight left hand down the pipe. Now, I think Usyk's actually taller than Chisora. So this idea that, he's not going to be able to get inside. One of the problems that Loma had is the reach and height advantage belonged to Lopez, and he wouldn't get inside. With Chisora, or he couldn't get inside without absorbing some serious punishment. With Chisora and Usyk, I don't think Usyk's going to have to take as many risks to get on the inside. I believe he's going to be able to feint his way in, and I don't necessarily think Chisora's going to be reacting to many feints. I think he's going to be coming forward, bulldozering himself forward, and looking to land big shots. The rotation, the constant movement and side-to-side movement of Usyk is going to play a big part in stopping that from happening. So as a result, one of the key shots for Derek Chisora, for me, in this fight, is that wide left hook from a distance. Not a close, tight left hook, a wide one. Because Usyk does like to move off to that side. He's going to have to try and stop him from moving to that side. Doesn't have to have much on it. Doesn't have to be a knockout punch. It's just enough to halt his movement and follow that up with a straight right hand down the pipe. Now, with a southpaw, often they're looking for that right hand down the pipe and they're looking to land their left hand down the pipe. So often what you can surprise a guy with is throw a wide left hook with a wide right hook that follows it. Okay? He's going to prepare for that, Usyk, because number one, like I said, he often has his hands up by his foot temple anyway. But Chisora also likes to throw that over the top wide right hand. He would have prepared for that. It might be worth throwing a few of those, work that combination a couple of times, let Usyk think that it's always going to come wide, and then work on shooting that shot straight. When he was throwing that shot straight against Szpilka, often something he had success with was throwing it to the chest. That's also going to be a worthwhile shot to throw. Throw it to the chest, to the solar plexus, keep him essentially off balance, but big shots too to start taking something out of his body. This is the only way, in my opinion, Chisora is going to be able to really get on Usyk, because unlike Szpilka, I don't believe Usyk's going to be in a situation where he's going to have his back up against the ropes. That's how he got stopped. He was doing very well, got caught when he had his back up against the ropes. He also had his back up against the ropes at the end of the first round. You can't do that against Chisora if you're Oleksandr Usyk. David Price has spoken about how difficult it was to tie Derek Chisora up. Now, David Price is a big man. You'd have to assume he's better at tying Chisora. He's better, you would assume, at tying someone like Chisora up than Oleksandr Usyk would be. So if Price is struggling to tie him up, I'm not so sure how comfortable Usyk would be in trying to tie him up. He's also been doing a lot of sambo training, wrestling training, Derek Chisora. So he's going to be looking to get on the inside, wrestle, lean on him, find ways to release his arms to stop himself being, held with underhooks or, any other wrestling sort of moves. He's going to want to get out of that and release his arms. And he would have worked on that. So Usyk's best hope is to be able to land from distance, constantly rotate, and stop Chisora, who's got quite slow feet, from being able to get into range and push him up against the ropes. So the key for Chisora is to throw those wide shots. If you look at the size, wide shot could be followed by straight shot, but just stop him. That wide left hook, stop him from constantly moving to your left. The problem that Usyk could potentially face is that the ring size against Szpilka was tiny. Now, Chisora is the home fighter. I wouldn't be surprised if we see another small ring. If we see a small ring, it will massively increase Derek Chisora's chance of winning this fight. However, now we'll talk about the Usyk perspective here. I don't buy into this idea that Usyk's not got the power to hurt heavyweights. I think he's not a one-punch knockout artist, but I don't think he throws shots like that. You don't really see him plant his feet and start throwing these wide shots. You don't know if he'd carry the power to throw those sorts of shots in that scenario. His shots are very straight and they're often on the move. And when your shots are on the move, you're not always planting your feet. But if you're walking into shots in the way that Derek Chisora is going to be walking into shots, those straight left hands, Szpilka affected him. Go and watch that fight again. Szpilka, he felt those shots. Is Szpilka really a massively bigger puncher than Usyk? And you'd have to say Usyk's going to be more accurate, I would assume, than Szpilka. So when you fall into a shot, it magnifies the power. Try holding a pad, right? And get someone to punch your hand while you're holding the pad. And just let your hand be floppy and loose. And as they hit your hand will fly away. Then, secondly, get them to throw a punch again, but this time move your hand back as they're about to connect. That would be the equivalent of rolling with a punch. Thirdly, when they throw a punch, all at the same level of power, move your hand forward. Hold your hand solid and move it forward towards the punch. Feel just how massively different the level of power that you absorb is. He's going to be coming down, head bowled, looking to throw these big, wild shots. He's going to be walking into a lot of straight left hands. Because of that, I believe that this fight is not going to go the distance, which is a little bit of a controversial thing to say because the majority of people are picking Usyk on points because, Chisora, we know he's got a great chin, he comes forward, but he can get hurt. We saw him hurt against Dillian Whyte, who's a massive puncher, bigger than Usyk. But we've seen him, even against Szpilka, he felt those shots. And if they're landing consistently and he starts to get more desperate and he starts to push himself, I can envisage a scenario where he starts to walk onto big shots and he gets tired. And I think if Usyk starts to open up on him down the stretch, you could see a late Usyk stoppage. Alternatively, if the ring is small and Usyk doesn't carry the weight as well and starts to get a little bit tired, and we see Chisora working those wide shots to keep him close, wide shots followed by a straight shot immediately afterwards, ripping that body, leaning on him, and he starts to get tired, don't be surprised if one of those big over-the-top right hands takes Usyk out. No man is invincible. Let me know what you guys think. I think it's going to be a terrific fight, a barn burner. If I had to pick, if I had one bet, I believe it will be Oleksandr Usyk to win this fight by a late stoppage. Let me know what you think. Chat to you soon. God bless.